Welcome to Peace Stories. Make sure you like and subscribe for your top-notch HOA drama. Today's juicy nugget of HOA nonsense comes wrapped in cowboy boots, bullhorns, and one grade A lunatic named Karen. Let me start with a fact. I own a 30-acre ranch at the edge of nowhere, where peace, freedom, and the occasional cow patty reign supreme. I mind my business, pay my taxes, and raise livestock that listen better than most politicians. But apparently, minding your business is an offense in Karenville. Enter Karen, HOA president. 5'2", powered by Chardonnay and entitlement. She moved into the neighboring eco-community 5 months ago, and ever since, she's been on a holy mission to cleanse the barbarism she thinks I bring to the neighborhood. Her HOA rules don't apply to me. I'm not in the HOA, I made sure of that. But logic and legality were never her strong suits. It started small. Noise complaints about my rooster at 6 a.m. on a farm. Imagine that. Then she claimed my barn was a fire hazard. After the fire department cleared me, she sent a letter saying my hay bales were aesthetic pollution. Whatever that means. I ignored her. That's when the big guns came out. I got a notice claiming I was harboring contraband items on my property. What kind? She wouldn't say. Just that her investigative committee found suspicious deliveries. Now, I don't know if she's confusing Amazon packages with cartel shipments, but I knew where this was headed. She was trying to build a case. You see, Karen's got a crew, a self-made HOA police force she calls the compliance officers. They're really just 3 retirees with clipboards and two-way radios, but they strut around like they've got FBI clearance and a license to snoop. I set up trail cams. Sure enough, I caught them trespassing twice, once trying to peek into my livestock barn, the other time sneaking photos of my shipping containers. One even tried to climb into my tractor. I called the sheriff, who chuckled, told them to back off, and left it at that. You'd think they'd stop. Nope. Karen doubled down. She held a special HOA meeting, which I crashed uninvited, and stood there like some suburban dictator, waving photos and making dramatic claims that I was bringing danger to the community. I asked her straight up, Karen, what the hell do you think I'm hiding, a tank? She didn't laugh. The others clapped. And that's when I knew this wasn't going to stop with letters or weird stares. Karen wanted war. What she didn't know was I wasn't just ready, I was locked, loaded, and 3 steps ahead. After that HOA meeting disaster, I went full recon mode. Not because I was guilty, hell no, but because I knew crazy when I saw it. Karen wasn't just sniffing around for gossip, she was trying to frame me. The next day, I found a cheap drone buzzing over my feedlot like it owned the sky. I grabbed my slingshot, yes, a slingshot, and cracked it straight out of the air like a backwoods sniper. That thing exploded in a rain of cheap plastic and camera parts. I waved to the distant tree line where I just knew Karen was watching with her little binoculars. She was escalating, but so was I. I installed new motion sensors, upgraded the fence line, and made sure every camera was feeding live to my cloud account and local storage. Because let's face it, when you're dealing with a Chardonnay-fueled dictator and her lawn chair militia, you better cover your butt. I also warned my ranch hands not to speak to anyone snooping around, especially folks with clipboards and smiles too wide, to be honest. The funny thing is, Karen wasn't good at subtle. A few days later, I received a handwritten notice on HOA stationery claiming her compliance enforcement unit would conduct a routine inspection of my ranch on Tuesday at 10 a.m. I laughed so hard I nearly fell off my porch swing. I don't know what HOA fantasy land she thought she lived in, but this was private property, not some gated cul-de-sac with matching mailboxes and lawn gnomes. I called my lawyer. He nearly choked on his coffee. Tell them to try it. That's trespassing. Let them hang themselves. So I made no move to stop her. In fact, I prepared, just not how she expected. I moved the bulls, 7 of them, into the front pasture closest to the ranch entrance. These weren't lazy field grazers either. These boys were lean, fast, and territorial as hell. I fed them lightly the night before so they'd be cranky by morning. Oh, and I might have left the gate looking very unlocked. Tuesday rolled around, and I waited with my binoculars in the watchtower I built last fall. 10 on the dot, a convoy of golf carts and SUVs rolled down the dirt road like the start of some HOA Mad Max spin-off. Karen was in the lead, wearing a reflective vest and holding a megaphone. Behind her, 5 men in tactical-looking uniforms hopped out like they were storming Fallujah. What they didn't realize was they were about to meet my real security team, and they had horns. Karen stood at my ranch gate like a toddler about to press a big red button marked "Do Not Touch." Her 5 HOA cops, decked out in knockoff tactical gear with matching knee pads and ego issues, climbed over the gate without a second thought. No warrant, no law enforcement, just HOA privilege and blind confidence. I watched from the tower with my coffee, grinning like a devil on Judgment Day. As soon as their boots touched my dirt, the bulls noticed. Now, I don't raise soft bulls. These are 1,500-pound tanks with horns sharpened by nature and personalities shaped by testosterone and attitude. They don't run from threats, they charge. The first HOA officer, a guy with sunglasses too big for his face and a clipboard like it was a holy relic, took 2 steps before my lead bull, El Diablo, locked eyes with him. That poor soul froze. You could see it in his posture. Man versus bull. He chose poorly. El Diablo snorted, pawed the ground, and launched. Chaos erupted like a rodeo in hell. 2 of the officers screamed and dove behind a bush. Another tried to play cowboy and wave his hands, but El Diablo wasn't taking requests. He lowered his head and sent that guy somersaulting like a rag doll across the field. Karen shrieked into her megaphone, "Stand your ground!" Which, hilariously, they tried for about 4 seconds. One HOA cop made a mad dash for the SUV, but the second bull joined the party and clipped him in the hip like a linebacker. Down he went, face first into a cow pie. I had to put my coffee down because I was laughing too hard to hold it steady. Karen, still on the outside of the gate, looked horrified. Her face was a perfect blend of rage and realization that she'd stepped in it. Deep. The last guy managed to hop the fence with a torn shirt, bleeding arm, and what I suspect was a dislocated shoulder. He rolled on the ground screaming, "I need a real cop." Meanwhile, the bulls returned to grazing like nothing happened. I hit the button on my loudspeaker system. Private property, trespassers will be prosecuted and gored, apparently. Karen didn't say a word. She just stumbled back to her SUV, face pale, hair wild, HOA badge dangling like a joke. By the time the real sheriff arrived, called in by Karen herself, they found 4 injured men, a dented SUV, 1 unconscious HOA soldier, and me, sipping sweet tea on my porch like it was just another Tuesday. By the time the sheriff stepped onto my property, 1 HOA goon was getting hauled into an ambulance, another sat dazed on a hay bale with a bullhorn-shaped bruise on his butt, and Karen was pacing like she'd just been kicked out of the homeowner's version of heaven. The sheriff removed his sunglasses and looked me dead in the eye. "Tell me they didn't have a warrant," he said flatly. "Nope," I replied, handing him a fresh glass of iced tea. "Just a lot of ego and polyester." Karen screeched, "He's hiding contraband. This is a matter of public safety." But her voice cracked somewhere between hysteria and full-blown delusion. Sheriff McAllister, a practical man with 20 years of not tolerating nonsense, turned to her like a disappointed dad at a school PTA meeting. "You sent 5 untrained, unauthorized HOA volunteers onto private farmland to investigate invisible contraband, and they got mauled by bulls. It was a lawful inspection under HOA Code 4.2a, she shouted, waving a binder thicker than a legal textbook. He raised an eyebrow. "This ranch isn't under your HOA, Karen." She blinked. "But it's in the proximity zone." "There is no proximity zone," he deadpanned. "That's not a thing." So she did what all Karens do when the world doesn't bend to their will. She sued. Full-blown lawsuit. Accused me of creating a dangerous environment, intentionally weaponizing livestock, and operating a criminal storage facility. I didn't even know that last one was a phrase. My lawyer laughed so hard on the phone he had to put me on hold. But we didn't just show up to court. We strutted in. I had full security footage of the unauthorized break-in, the bull's totally natural response, and even a backup audio file of Karen's screeching megaphone orders. She rolled in with her HOA badge, her binder, and 4 very bandaged officers looking like they got into a fistfight with the animal kingdom. Her lawyer tried to make a case about excessive use of livestock. The judge, God bless her dry sense of humor, just blinked and asked, "Are you suggesting the defendant used cows as a security system?" "Bulls," I corrected gently, "and they acted independently, as bulls do." The courtroom laughed. Karen fumed. In the end, the judge threw the case out like last week's spoiled salad. No warrant, no authority, no case. The HOA cops were warned not to step foot near my property again or face real criminal trespassing charges. Karen's face crumpled like a paper bag in the rain. The last thing she heard as she stormed out was me saying, "Maybe next time, try calling animal control." Justice. Served with horns.